Hello world, Mia here, and I'm super duper excited to talk about all my whips, my works in progress. Work in progresses. The novels I'm writing. This is a difficult video for me to make simply because I am not used to talking about my fiction writing and my novels. Back when I was in college and undergrad and even in grad school, I did a lot of creative writing. I took a lot of creative writing classes. I even presented some of my work at conferences. And so I'm not unused to presenting my work and talking about my creative work. But I've spent so much of the last decade in a business capacity where I've been solely dedicating my writing and my creative energies toward capitalist desires and helping other people make money. And so it's difficult for me to talk about my fiction and my books because it's been something I've had to hide for so many years and for over a decade. And it's both amazing and terrifying that I am this close to putting my novels out there in the world, and that I have afforded myself this platform to talk about all of my books and all of the many books that I have in the fire right now. And so it's exciting to see what happens as this channel evolves and also as my writing evolves. So without further ado, here's me talking about my works in progress. So right now I have two big series that I am working on. I have two big series that I'm working on. So there's the Devils in DC series, and then there is my paranormal vampire romance series that I call Project Witchy. And I'm gonna talk about the Devils in DC series because that's the one that I'm working on most intensely right now. And I'm almost done with book one in that series. So just to give you a little bit of context, Devils in DC series, it follows 3 couples. So it's a total of 6 books, 2 books in a duet. So the first set that I'm working on is called Project Serenity, and that is book 1 and book 2. Project Serenity, book 1, Project Serenity, book 2. So when you hear me talk about Project Serenity, just know I'm talking about the first book in the series, although I have plotted out every chapter in book 2. So the duet itself is done. The other book duet in that series is Project Cabarete, which will become very apparent as I talk more about that book in particular. And then there is Project Bodyguard, which is a little bit self-explanatory once you get into the Devils in DC series, which I know I'm telling you nothing right now, but those are the books and the duets within that whole series. So let me tell you a little bit about the Devils in DC series. So the Devils in DC series is based off of a very affluent family that lives in the DC area and in the surrounding areas. So we're talking about old money, old Virginia money, mixed in with the political landscape of the folks who run our country. We meet 2 characters. We meet Hunter and River, who are our main couple. River is a woman of color. She is a Black woman. Her mother was a congressman. Her father was a well-renowned doctor. And then Hunter, whose father is wealthy in his own right, again, from old money. And they are, let's say, mixed up in a wealth, unintended, they are mixed up in a wealth of darkness in the underbelly of our country, really. So when they come together, Hunter is a single dad who the mother of his child dies in a super tragic way. I won't spoil it because that's part of the book. But Hunter's son, August, is autistic. And as he uncovers the trauma that August faces in the aftermath of the death of August's mother, he finds that he needs some assistance, some deeper assistance to help August recover from that trauma, but he also needs someone who's super familiar with both childhood trauma and neurodivergent individuals and children. That's where River comes in. River is a grad student who's right at the cusp of completing her doctoral program in clinical psychology with a focus on neurodivergence and childhood trauma. She is a trauma survivor herself, and we uncover the artifacts of her trauma and how that shows up in her mental health throughout the book. But the stars align as they do in romance, and they're brought together in order to have her in home helping August and connecting with August, and then also with Hunter learning how to be a single parent to a son that he's been by and large very absent from. So as the story progresses, there's a lot of drama. There's a thread of intrigue as River is stalked throughout the book, and we try to figure out who does it. And we find that person in the end of book 1. So yes, there is a little bit of a cliffhanger, but I promise you I will not leave you hanging forever. In book 2, we deal with the aftermath of that stalking as Hunter comes to terms with realizing his place in River's life and in August's life. And also as River discovers her own internal strength and how she shows up in relationships and what she really wants out of a relationship. It's a very, like I said, angsty, drama-filled, mysterious book, because there's even more mystery from that stalking that follows into book 2 of the series and book 2 of the duet that we uncover by the end. And then of course, we're wondering, are they together in the end? Probably. But maybe I'm making things different. So what inspired this was a couple of things. One, I am neurodivergent, and it's something that as I discovered it or uncovered the root behind a lot of my idiosyncrasies, I guess you could say, but it's something that I really wanted to explore within the fiction that I create. The other thing that inspired it was, ironically, watching Hamilton and seeing Aaron Burr say, "I'm a trust fund, baby, you can trust me." And I thought, I wonder what it would be like to follow a main male character who's an absolute shithead. Not in like this guy's raising red flags, although Hunter has plenty of red flags, but in a way of thinking about, what if he wasn't at all a likable character by many, many standards? How can we see a person grow over the course of a book? And how can we see a real example of a relationship evolve as it goes through trauma, as it goes through difficulties throughout the relationship? So that was what really inspired it. Plus, I love a single dad, single mom trope. So I really wanted to explore that in the book. So with the Devils of DC series, I am about halfway done with book 1. It is my project for NaNoWriMo is to finish draft 1 of book 1 of Project Serenity. And I have book 2 completely plotted, which I have a video where I show you where I plotted this book 2 in 90 minutes. And I have it plotted out all the way through the end. So I know exactly what's gonna happen within the duet within the series. I know it's kind of like subcategory, subcategory, subcategory. It's interesting. Within the Devils of DC series, there's 2 more duets, and then there's 4 more there's 2 more duets. I can do math, kind of. And I can't tell you too much about them at this point because there would be spoilers from book 1. But just know that they're coming. The other series that I'm working on that I'm calling Project Witchy is a series that I honestly put on the back burner because it's very different from what I usually write. So I've said it before that I tend to write contemporary romances because the world is already established. And in Project Witchy, it has its own magic system and hierarchy of the magical creatures, of the paranormal creatures that I have spent so much time flushing out. And it is time consuming, and it is a big opus of a book. It's an opus of a book. A high level story is it follows our main female character, whose name will probably change, but it follows our main female character. Our main female character lives in New Orleans, which if you didn't know, it's where I'm from. But it follows her in New Orleans. She is also a Black woman, and she is also a witch whose powers are being suppressed intentionally to hide her from the powers that be that would want to see her unalived. As she graduates from college, she starts to have an awakening that the suppressive powers aren't able to stave off. This sends a beacon out to the powers that be, the upper echelon of the vampire world, of the magical world. to pinpoint where she is. Those people send a mercenary out to basically unalive her and prevent a prophecy from becoming true. When the mercenary ends up being unsuccessful in unaliving our female main character, it sets off a chain of events that ultimately results in the first kickoff of the prophecy coming true. But here's the thing about the prophecy. If it were to come true, it would mean the end of all magical and paranormal kind around the world. Obviously a big deal, and obviously something that the upper echelons want to prevent. It is a paranormal journey book where the two main characters are obviously falling in love. You have the mercenary and you have the witch, and they're falling in love. It's a cross paranormal romance because you have a vampire and you have a witch that are together, but also it's an interracial story as a Black witch and a French vampire. I know, I know, but you have them falling in love and breaking all kinds of rules to be together. And literally our main male character is risking his literal neck in order to be with our female main character. And as they try to make this prophecy not come true. So will they be successful? Will they won't? Will they won't? Will you will or will you won't? We shall see. But I have 3 books planned in that series, and I am super duper excited to write that one, but that one's gonna be like a whole thing. Those are all of my books. I am so excited for these books. I've never told anybody much about them, so I'm so excited to put this out in the world and to chronicle how I do with getting book 1 finished for Nano. So follow along. Bye.